The vast emptiness of space was broken by a strange object drifting slowly toward the edges of the solar system. Earth's long-range scanners picked it up first, something massive and clearly not natural. The object moved in a way that suggested it was using the last bits of some kind of propulsion system, rather than just floating with gravity's pull. Captain Elaine Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder and stared at the image on the main screen. After 20 years exploring deep space, she thought she had seen everything. She was wrong. "How big is it?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Lieutenant Gary Wilson adjusted the scanners. "About the size of Manhattan, Captain. And it's definitely artificial." Martinez nodded and turned to her communications officer. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them we found something they need to see." 3 days later, the Pathfinder reached the mysterious object. Up close, it was even more impressive. A massive ship with strange curves and angles that seemed to blend metal with something almost organic. Parts of its hull glowed with faint blue light, while other sections were dark and appeared damaged. "No response to our hails," Wilson reported. "No detectable life signs either." Martinez ordered the ship to move closer. "What do we think, people? Abandoned?" Chief Engineer Alan Murphy stepped forward. He was brilliant but often ignored rules, which had kept him from promotion despite his talent. His eyes lit up as he studied the readings from the alien ship. "Those energy readings are unlike anything I've ever seen," Murphy said. "It's not dead, more like sleeping. I think..." He paused, excitement making his words come faster. "I think it's repairing itself very slowly." Martinez made her decision. "Prepare a boarding team, full environmental gear. Murphy, you're with me." The team crossed from the Pathfinder to the alien vessel through a temporary docking tube. The ship's entry point seemed to recognize their presence, creating an opening where there appeared to be none before. Inside, the corridors stretched in impossible directions. The gravity felt normal, though nothing indicated what might be generating. The walls had a slight pulse to them as if the ship itself were breathing. "This is incredible," whispered Dr. Olivia Jackson, the team's linguist and xenoanthropologist. "The architecture suggests a completely different way of thinking about space." They moved deeper into the ship, finding rooms that seemed to shift and change slightly when not directly observed. Some corridors led to dead ends with strange symbols etched into the walls. Others opened into vast chambers filled with technology no human had ever seen before. In one room, they found what appeared to be control stations, though without any familiar buttons or screens. Murphy ran his hand over one surface, and it lit up with symbols and patterns. "Don't touch anything else," Martinez ordered, but her voice held wonder rather than rebuke. 4 hours into their exploration, they found the heart of the ship. The central chamber was enormous, with a column of swirling energy suspended in its center. Around it, crystal-like structures formed a complex pattern. "This is it," Murphy said softly. "This is the main power source. But it's more than that." He consulted his scanner. "These readings suggest it's drawing energy from somewhere else, not normal space, maybe subspace or another dimension entirely." Jackson had been studying symbols on the walls. "I think I can access some kind of log or record system," she said. She pressed her palm against a glowing panel and the room filled with three-dimensional images, recordings of the ship's former crew. The aliens were tall, with 4 arms and skin that shifted, colors as they moved. Their voices came through as strange musical tones that Jackson's translation software struggled to interpret. "They're called the Vorax," she said after several minutes. "From what I can gather, this ship wasn't originally theirs. They found it just like we did, but they couldn't fully repair or control it." Murphy nodded, moving carefully around the central column. "They were trying to use force to make it work. Look at these connection points. They tried to override the ship's systems with their own technology." Over the next several hours, more teams from the Pathfinder joined them. Scientists and engineers spread throughout the ship, documenting everything they found. Martinez established a temporary command post near the entry point and reported their findings to Earth Command. 6 days into the exploration, Murphy made a discovery that changed everything. "Captain, you need to see this," he called, over the comm system. Martinez found him in a previously unexplored section of the ship. The room was smaller than many others but filled with technology that seemed more advanced than anything else they'd found. "What am I looking at?" she asked. Murphy pointed to what appeared to be a targeting system. "This is a weapon, Captain. The most powerful weapon I've ever seen or even imagined." His voice was quiet with awe. "It doesn't just destroy things, it seems to shift them partially out of our dimension." "You mean like a phasing device?" "More than that. It could potentially remove a target from our reality entirely or just parts of it." Murphy ran a hand through his hair. "The Vorax couldn't make it work properly. Their notes suggest they tried, for years before abandoning the ship." Martinez stared at the weapon system. "And you think we can?" Murphy's eyes met hers. "The interface is nothing like what the Vorax tried to build. Look at these." He pointed to what appeared to be neural connection points. The ship wasn't designed to be controlled by direct commands. It was made to link with its crew's minds. "That's why the Vorax failed," Jackson added, joining them. "Their entire culture is built on rigid hierarchy and direct control. The logs show they saw the neural interface as primitive compared to their own technology." Martinez looked around the room, trying to grasp the implications. "We need to report this immediately, and we need more people, our best minds." That night, alone in her temporary quarters on the alien ship, Martinez couldn't sleep. The vessel occasionally made soft sounds like it was talking to itself. She wondered what Earth Command would decide to do with this discovery. The next morning, her orders arrived: establish a permanent research station on the ship. Learn everything possible about its technology, especially the weapons system. This was now humanity's highest priority. As Martinez watched more ships arrive from Earth bringing scientists and equipment, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity had just found something that would either elevate them to the stars or bring doom upon them all, and somewhere out there, the Vorax still existed. She wondered if they would care that humans had found their abandoned treasure. 6 months passed since the discovery of the alien ship. Earth's governments had named it Opportunity, and a permanent research station now operated inside its vast hull. Engineers and scientists worked day and night to understand its strange technology. Alan Murphy had resigned from the Space Command to focus fully on the ship. He now led the main research team, living aboard the Opportunity full-time. The more they learned, the more questions they had. The ship seemed to respond to human presence in subtle ways. Lights would brighten slightly when someone entered a room, and doors would open before anyone touched them. "It's learning us," Murphy told his team during their morning meeting. "I think it might be partly alive." Dr. Olivia Jackson nodded in agreement. She had made progress with the ship's language and log systems. The original builders designed it to bond with its crew. The Vorax tried to override that with their own controls. Meanwhile, Captain Elaine Martinez continued to command the Pathfinder, which now patrolled the solar system more frequently. Earth's leaders worried that the ship's discovery might attract unwanted attention. Martinez thought this was just being cautious until she encountered something during a routine patrol near Neptune. "Unknown ship detected," her sensor officer reported. "Design doesn't match anything in our database." Martinez stood from her chair. Defensive positions. Open communications on all frequencies. The alien vessel was smaller than the Pathfinder but had a sleek, dangerous look to it. After several tense minutes, they received a response. "This is Ambassador Cathral of the Vorax Collective," came the translated message. The screen showed a tall being with 4 arms and color-shifting skin. "We are surprised to find another intelligent species in this sector." Martinez introduced herself and humanity carefully. The Vorax seemed friendly enough, expressing surprise that humans had managed to survive so long in what they called the dangerous galaxy without advanced defenses. "We would be pleased to establish diplomatic relations," Cathral said. "Perhaps we could visit your homeworld." Martinez followed protocol and contacted Earth Command. After hours of discussion, they agreed to the meeting. What choice did they have? The Vorax obviously had far superior technology. Better to be friendly. Nobody mentioned the opportunity during these talks. The research station had been hidden behind Jupiter's moon Callisto just in case. 2 days later, Martinez escorted the Vorax ship toward Earth. As they approached Mars, her communications officer looked up with alarm. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships emerging from faster than light. Travel." Before Martinez could respond, space tore open in a dozen places. Massive Vorax warships emerged, immediately taking positions around Earth. "Captain, we're being hailed by the Vorax fleet commander," the officer said. The screen showed another Vorax, this one wearing what looked like battle armor. "I am Supreme Commander Zarkesh of the Vorax Collective. Your species has taken property that belongs to us. Return our vessel immediately." Martinez tried to play innocent. "I don't understand what vessel you mean." Zarkesh's skin turned a dark purple. "Do not attempt deception. Our sensors detect the energy signature of our abandoned research vessel, the one your kind calls Opportunity. It contains dangerous technology that primitives like you cannot be trusted with." Martinez looked to Ambassador Cathral, who now stood beside Zarkesh on the screen. "You used diplomatic contact as a cover for invasion." Cathral's skin rippled with blue patterns. "We used efficient means to recover our property. Return it, and your species can live under Vorax protection. Refuse, and we will take it by force." Earth Command immediately called an emergency meeting. Murphy and Jackson joined by video link from the Opportunity. "They abandoned that ship," Murphy argued. "We've spent months studying it. They couldn't even make it work properly." "That doesn't matter now," the United Earth president said. "They have enough firepower to destroy our major cities from orbit. We need to buy time." Murphy shook his head. "We've made progress with the ship's systems. Give me a chance to activate the defensive capabilities." Back on the Pathfinder, Martinez received new orders. Stall the Vorax while Murphy worked. She opened communications with Zarkesh. "We need time to prepare the vessel for transfer," she said. "It's integrated with our research equipment." Zarkesh seemed to consider this. "You have 12 hours. Then we will retrieve it ourselves." But the Vorax had no intention of waiting. Just 4 hours later, their fleet moved into attack position. "They're charging weapons," Martinez's tactical officer shouted. The Vorax strike came without further warning. Energy beams sliced through Earth's orbital defenses. Several cities reported impacts from space. The Pathfinder and other human vessels fought back, but they were hopelessly outmatched. On the Opportunity, Murphy worked frantically. "We need to power up the main systems now." Jackson looked worried. "But we haven't fully mapped the neural interface yet." "No choice," Murphy said, connecting cables between the ship's strange control panels and the equipment they'd brought. "They're going to kill everyone if we don't try something." As the Vorax fleet continued its attack, Murphy managed to activate some of the ship's defensive systems. A strange energy field surrounded the Opportunity, then expanded outward. When it touched the nearest Vorax ships, their weapons stopped firing. "It's working," Jackson shouted. "It's disrupting their energy weapons somehow." Murphy nodded, sweat dripping from his forehead. "I can't maintain it for long. The system wants a direct neural connection, not these jury-rigged interfaces." The energy field flickered and then collapsed. Murphy slammed his fist against the control panel. "Damn it!" The partial success was enough to surprise the Vorax. Their attack paused briefly, giving Earth's remaining ships time to regroup. Martinez led what was left of the fleet in a strategic retreat, saving as many vessels as possible. On Earth, millions fled to underground shelters as Vorax weapons struck major cities. The damage was severe but calculated. They were demonstrating power, not trying to destroy the planet completely. Finally, the attack stopped. Zarkesh's face appeared on screens worldwide. This demonstration was necessary to show the consequences of defiance, he said. "Return our vessel and submit to Vorax protection or face extinction. You have 30 days to comply." The broadcast ended, leaving humanity in shock. The president called another emergency meeting with the top military leaders and the Opportunity research team. "How bad is it?" she asked. 17 major cities hit, millions dead or injured, reported the defense secretary. Our orbital defenses are mostly destroyed. Murphy spoke up from the video link. We've made progress. The ship responded to our attempts to activate its defense systems. Can we use it to fight back? Asked the president. Murphy exchanged looks with Jackson. Maybe, but not the way we've been trying. We need to approach this differently. He paused. The Vorax tried to control the ship through force. That's why they failed. I think we need to communicate with it instead. Communicate? With a ship? Martinez asked. Yes, Murphy nodded. The neural interface isn't just a control system. It's a partnership. We need someone to actually link with the ship. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Find a way, the president finally said. We have 30 days before the Vorax return to finish what they started. The attack on Earth changed everything. Cities lay in ruins. Millions of people suffered and fear spread across the planet. But humans didn't give up. Instead, they worked harder to understand the alien ship now hidden behind Jupiter's moon, Allen. Murphy barely slept during the 3 days after the attack. He studied the neural interface system of the ship with new determination. Dr. Olivia Jackson worked alongside him, translating more of the ship's strange symbols and records. The Vorax never understood this ship, Jackson said, pointing to the ancient logs. They tried to control it like a tool, but it was designed to work with its crew, not for them. Murphy nodded. That's why they abandoned it. Their rigid thinking couldn't adapt to what the ship needed. He showed Jackson his latest discovery, tiny filaments in the control room that responded to human brain patterns. It's not just technology. It's partly alive. They needed someone to test Murphy's theory about connecting directly with the ship. After careful consideration, they chose Kevin Diaz, a pilot with unusually high scores in neuroplasticity tests. Diaz had flown rescue missions during the Vorax attack and volunteered immediately when asked. I'll do whatever it takes to protect Earth, he said when he arrived at the hidden research station. Murphy explained the risks. We don't know exactly what will happen when you connect. The ship might change you, or you might change the ship. Either way, you won't be the same. Diaz looked at the alien vessel through the viewport. Since they had started working with it, the ship had begun to change. Its damaged sections were healing, and its dull metal now had a soft glow. I understand. The risks, he said. Let's do this. The connection chamber they prepared looked simple, just a chair surrounded by the ship's strange technology. Murphy had modified it based on what they had learned, adding human interfaces where needed. Ready? Murphy asked when Diaz was seated. Diaz nodded, and Murphy activated the system. Fine glowing filaments extended from the ceiling and walls, gently, touching Diaz's temples and the back of his neck. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then Diaz gasped. I can feel it, he whispered. It's aware. Over the next few hours, Diaz described his experience as the ship's systems opened to him. He could sense every part of the massive vessel, from its self-repairing hull to its strange engines. Most importantly, he understood systems that had baffled even Murphy. The ship doesn't have a name, Diaz explained. It considers itself an extension of its crew, but it recognizes our name for it. Opportunity. He paused, his eyes closed in concentration. No, that's not right anymore. It feels more like synapse, a connection point. While Diaz worked with the ship, Captain Martinez organized Earth's remaining defenses. She knew they couldn't defeat the Vorax fleet in direct combat, but they could gather information and buy time. We need to understand their tactics and technology better, she told her pilots. Small teams, quick attacks, then retreat before they can respond. These hit-and-run missions seemed hopeless against the superior Vorax ships, but each encounter provided valuable data. The Vorax were powerful but predictable. They always followed the same attack patterns and never adapted their strategies. 15 days after the attack, Murphy called Martinez to the research station. You need to see this, he said. When she arrived, she found the ship, now called Synapse, transformed. Its hull had completely repaired itself and now flowed with patterns of light. Inside, the corridors had reshaped themselves to better accommodate human movement. Kevin has been connected for 3 days straight, Murphy explained, leading her to the control center. He's only disconnected for short periods to eat and rest. Diaz sat in the modified chair, filaments of light connecting him to the ship. He opened his eyes when they entered, and Martinez was startled by the faint glow in them. "Captain," he greeted her. "Synapse has shown me how to repair systems the Vorax never understood. Can we use it to fight?" Martinez asked directly. Diaz nodded. "The main weapon system is operational, but it's not what the Vorax thought it was." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the air. "They thought it was just a destructive beam weapon. It's actually much more sophisticated." The display showed a simulation of the weapon firing at a target. Instead of destroying the target, it seemed to shift it partially out of reality. "It creates a dimensional phase," Murphy explained. "It doesn't destroy objects. It shifts them partially into another dimension, where physical laws are different." The Vorax couldn't understand it because their mathematics has no concept for multiple dimensions, Jackson added. "Human physics has been theorizing about this for over a century." Martinez studied the display. "Can we use this against the Vorax fleet?" "Yes," Diaz said simply. "Synapse is teaching me how to target their ships, and there's more. The neural link goes both ways. Synapse is learning from me too. It's adapting itself to work better with humans." Over the next 10 days, Diaz rarely disconnected from Synapse. The ship continued to change, incorporating elements of human design into its alien structure. Murphy worked with his team to understand these changes, while Jackson discovered more about the original builders of the ship. "They were called the Precursors," she told Martinez during a briefing. "They built ships like Synapse to be partners, not tools. Each ship was partly alive and designed to evolve with its crew." Meanwhile, the 30-day deadline approached. The Vorax moved their fleet into position, preparing for what they expected would be a simple operation to claim their abandoned vessel and complete their conquest of Earth. On the 28th day, Martinez gathered the leaders of Earth's remaining military forces. "We have one chance," she said. "We can't match their numbers or conventional firepower, but we have something they don't understand." She outlined the plan. Earth's remaining ships would launch what appeared to be a desperate final attack. This would draw the Vorax fleet into a specific formation. Then, when they were committed, Synapse would emerge from hiding. "Will Diaz be ready?" asked one of the generals. Martinez looked at Murphy, who nodded. "He and Synapse are ready. They've become something new together." The day before the deadline, Martinez visited Diaz one last time. She barely recognized him. His body was unchanged, but his eyes now had a permanent glow, and he spoke differently, more measured, with strange pauses. "We will protect Earth," he said, his voice blending with subtle harmonics that seemed to come from the ship itself. "The Vorax abandoned us because they could not understand. Humans embraced us because they could." Martinez felt a chill despite her determination. "Kevin, are you still you?" He smiled, and for a moment he looked like the pilot she had known before. "Yes, Captain. Just more than I was. Synapse and I see things the same way now. Humans and this ship were meant to find each other." As she left to prepare her fleet for the coming battle, Martinez couldn't help wondering, had humans really mastered the alien technology, or had it mastered them? The day of the deadline arrived. The Vorax fleet positioned itself in Earth's orbit, their massive ships casting shadows over the cities below. Supreme Commander Zarkesh sent his final message to Earth's leaders. "Your time has ended. Surrender our vessel and accept Vorax rule, or we will destroy what remains of your civilization." Earth's president stood firm despite her fear. "We need more time to prepare the ship for transfer. Our scientists report that moving it too quickly could cause a catastrophic power release." This was part of Martinez's plan, to make the Vorax believe humans were stalling because they were afraid, not because they were preparing to fight. Zarkesh's skin darkened with anger. "No more delays. We will take what is ours and deal with the consequences. Prepare to be boarded. The Vorax began moving their ships into attack formation. This was the moment Martinez had been waiting for. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, now renamed Defiance, and gave the order. All ships, initiate Operation Last Stand. Earth's remaining fleet moved from their hiding places around the planet. It looked like a desperate final charge against the overwhelming Vorax force. Exactly 57 ships, less than a quarter of Earth's original fleet against over 300 Vorax vessels. They're taking the bait, Martinez's tactical officer reported. Vorax ships are moving to intercept us. The Vorax commanders likely saw this as a foolish last effort by primitive humans. Their ships moved into a standard attack pattern, spreading out to surround Earth's fleet. They're settling into formation, Martinez said. Send the signal. Behind Jupiter's moon, Callisto, hidden from Vorax sensors, Synapse received the signal. Inside the ship's control center, Kevin Diaz opened his eyes. He no longer needed the physical neural connections that had initially linked him to the ship. His mind was permanently joined with Synapse now. It's time, he said to Murphy and Jackson, who monitored his condition from a secondary control station. Synapse's engines flared to life with brilliant blue energy. The ship moved with a grace that belied its massive size, accelerating faster than any human or Vorax vessel could match. In Earth's orbit, Martinez watched her tactical display as Synapse approached. The ship looked nothing like it had when they found it 6 months ago. Its hull now flowed with patterns of light, and its shape had changed, becoming more streamlined and elegant. All ships prepare to execute Maneuver Delta on my mark, she ordered. Her fleet needed to be in exactly the right position when Synapse arrived. The Vorax detected Synapse when it was halfway to Earth. At first, there was confusion among their fleet. The energy signature matched their abandoned vessel, but the appearance was dramatically different. Unknown ship approaching, a Vorax officer reported to Zarkesh. Energy patterns match our lost research vessel, but configuration is impossible. Zarkesh recognized the ship despite its changes. It's the humans. They've modified our vessel. Activate the kill switches immediately. The Vorax had left emergency shutdown codes buried deep in the ship's systems before abandoning it. They were confident these would render the ship helpless if anyone ever tried to use it against them. Aboard Synapse, Diaz felt the Vorax attempts to trigger the kill switches. He smiled slightly. They're trying to shut us down, he told Murphy. Murphy watched the ship's status displays with amazement. Are their codes working? No, Diaz replied. Synapse and I removed those weeks ago. Actually, we repurposed them as power conduits for the main weapon. On the Vorax command ship, panic began to spread as their kill switches failed. It's not responding, an officer reported. The humans have bypassed our safeguards. Zarkesh snarled orders. All ships, destroy that vessel immediately. The Vorax fleet turned their weapons toward Synapse, momentarily forgetting about Earth's smaller fleet. This was exactly what Martinez had planned for. Now, she ordered. Execute Maneuver Delta. Earth's ships scattered in a carefully coordinated pattern, drawing some of the Vorax vessels away from the main group and creating gaps in their formation. Synapse accelerated into one of these gaps, diving straight toward the heart of the Vorax fleet. The first Vorax ships fired their weapons, but their energy beams seemed to bend around Synapse without touching it. Defensive fields are holding, Murphy reported. Diaz nodded, his eyes glowing with the same blue light that pulsed through Synapse's hull, beginning primary targeting sequence. From Synapse, a strange rippling beam shot out, touching a Vorax warship. The effect was nothing like a normal weapon. Instead of an explosion, the ship simply changed. Parts of it seemed to fade, becoming ghostly and transparent. Other sections vanished entirely, leaving strange gaps in the vessel's structure. The crippled Vorax ship drifted, its systems failing. Then Synapse fired again, and another Vorax vessel suffered the same fate. What is happening? Zarkesh demanded, as the reports came in. Unknown weapon effect, an officer responded, fear evident in his voice. It's shifting portions of our ships into another dimensional phase. The affected sections no longer exist in our space. Martinez watched from the Defiance as Synapse moved through the Vorax fleet, its dimensional weapon rendering ship after ship helpless. Not destroying them completely, but removing key sections, weapons, engines, control centers. "It's working," she whispered. Then louder to her crew, "Press the attack. Target any ship Synapse has disabled." Earth's fleet engaged, focusing on the crippled Vorax vessels. For the first time, they fought with a real advantage. Zarkesh saw his fleet being systematically disabled. In desperation, he called for reinforcements. "Open the fold gate, bring the main battle fleet." Space distorted as the Vorax created a massive wormhole, their method of faster-than-light travel. Through the swirling portal, the shapes of hundreds more Vorax ships began to appear. Aboard Synapse, Diaz sensed the wormhole opening. In that moment, he and the ship made a decision together. "Change of target," he announced, focusing on the fold gate. Murphy looked alarmed. "The fold gate? Not the incoming ships?" "Trust me," Diaz said, his voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to echo through the ship. Synapse turned its weapon toward the wormhole itself. The dimensional beam struck the edge of the fold gate, where normal space was already distorted. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The wormhole's edges began to flicker and collapse. The Vorax ships halfway through were caught in the distortion, parts of them phasing in and out of reality. The wormhole shrank rapidly, then collapsed with a silent flash of energy that rippled through nearby space. On the Vorax command ship, there was stunned silence. Half their reinforcement fleet was now stranded on the other side of the galaxy. The ships that had partially emerged were drifting, crippled by the same dimensional weapon that had disabled so many of their other vessels. "Impossible," Zarkesh whispered. Then he made the only decision he could. "All functional ships retreat. Full emergency propulsion." The remaining Vorax vessels turned and fled, accelerating away from Earth as quickly as their engines could push them. Inside Synapse, Diaz watched them go. "Should we pursue?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "No," Murphy said, looking at Jackson for confirmation. "We've won this battle. Let them run." Martinez received the news with disbelief that quickly turned to joy. "They're retreating?" "Confirm that." "Confirmed, Captain," her tactical officer replied, voice shaking with emotion. "The Vorax fleet is in full retreat. We've won." Across Earth, people emerged from shelters to see the Vorax ships vanishing into the distance. Cheers erupted in every city, town, and village. For the first time in a month, humanity dared to hope again. As Synapse moved into orbit around Earth, glowing like a new star in the sky, Martinez knew this was only the beginning. The Vorax would report what happened here. Other alien species would learn about Earth and the strange human ability to master technology that the Vorax couldn't understand. Everything had changed, and there was no going back. 3 years passed since the Battle of Jupiter. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined before. Cities damaged by the Vorax attack had been rebuilt, now featuring strange new materials and technologies. Ships similar to Synapse, though smaller, were being constructed in orbit. Humanity was expanding faster than ever before. Captain Elaine Martinez, now Admiral Martinez, stood at the window of her office in the new Space Command headquarters. From here, she could see Synapse in orbit, glowing like a blue star. The ship had continued to evolve, growing more beautiful and more powerful with each passing month. "Admiral, your visitors have arrived," her assistant said over the intercom. Martinez turned as Alan Murphy and Olivia Jackson entered her office. Murphy now led the Earth Science Directorate, overseeing all research related to alien technology. Jackson had become Earth's foremost expert on alien cultures and languages. Both had aged since their first encounter with the abandoned Starship, lines of stress and responsibility marking their faces. "I assume this is about tomorrow's meeting?" Martinez asked. Murphy nodded. 12 alien delegations arriving at once. Nothing like this has happened in human history. "How's Kevin doing?" Martinez asked. She hadn't seen Diaz in person for over a year. Few people had. Jackson's expression grew serious. "He rarely disconnects from Synapse now. When he does speak, to us, it's different. He talks about visions from the precursors, the original builders of the ship. Is he still human? Martinez asked quietly. Murphy shrugged. Physically, yes. Mentally, he's something more now. He and Synapse have truly become one entity, but he's still dedicated to protecting Earth. After their meeting, Martinez took a shuttle to Synapse. The ship now served as both Earth's primary defense and its beacon to the stars. Inside, it looked nothing like the abandoned vessel they had found. The corridors glowed with soft light, and the walls seemed to pulse with life. The air itself felt charged with energy. In the central chamber where the heart of Synapse's power systems once stood, there was now a space that defied normal physics. The room seemed larger inside than should have been possible, with light bending in strange ways. Kevin Diaz floated in the center, suspended in a web of glowing energy. His body appeared normal, but his eyes shone with the same blue light that flowed through Synapse's systems. "Admiral Martinez," he said, his voice carrying those strange harmonics that had become familiar to those who worked with him. "It's good to see you again, Kevin," she replied. "Are you ready for tomorrow's meeting?" He smiled. "The delegations are already approaching our solar system. 12 different species, each with their own agenda." Martinez wasn't surprised that he knew. Synapse's sensors could detect ships long before Earth's other systems could. What do they want? Some seek alliances. Others bring warnings. Diaz's expression grew serious. "The Vorax have told stories about us, Admiral, about how primitive humans mastered technology they couldn't understand. The galaxy has taken notice. Over the past 3 years, humanity had learned they were far from alone. The galaxy contained dozens of spacefaring civilizations, many far older than human society. The Vorax were just one of several expansionist powers that conquered weaker species." "What warnings?" Martinez asked. "The dimensional technology that powers Synapse was created for a purpose," Diaz said. "The precursors built ships like this as a defense against something they called the Tide, a threat from beyond the galaxy that returns in cycles." "Another alien species?" "Something worse. The precursors' records are fragmented, but they describe entities that exist partly in our dimension and partly in others. They consume entire star systems before moving on." Diaz's eyes seemed to look at something far away. "The precursors believed the tide returns every 50,000 years. If their calculations were correct, they're due to return soon." The next day, Earth hosted the most important diplomatic event in human history. 12 alien delegations arrived in the solar system, each with their own ships and representatives. They gathered on a newly constructed space station named Unity, designed specifically for interspecies meetings. Some aliens looked almost human, with just slight differences in coloring or proportions. Others were completely foreign, beings of crystalline structures or masses of tentacles or creatures that seemed made of living metal. All had come because of what happened with the Vorax. Martinez led the human delegation alongside the president. Murphy and Jackson attended as advisors, bringing their knowledge of alien technology and culture. Synapse remained in orbit, with Diaz watching through the ship's sensors. The leader of the Tellarite delegation spoke first. "The Tellarites resembled tall, thin humans with silvery skin. Humanity has achieved in months what other species have failed to do in centuries. You have mastered precursor technology and defeated one of the galaxy's major powers." A representative of the Morrigan Collective, beings that looked like large birds with 4 wings, leaned forward. "We wish to establish trade agreements with your species. Your intuitive understanding of neural interfaces could benefit us greatly." But not all messages were positive. The Vicarian ambassador, an insectoid being with multiple compound eyes, issued a warning. "The Vorax are regrouping. They tell all who will listen that humans are dangerous, unpredictable, and must be contained before they spread throughout the galaxy." Throughout the meeting, Murphy observed how different species reacted to humanity. Some showed respect, others fear. A few displayed what could only be described as religious awe, as if humans had performed some miracle by connecting with Synapse. After the formal talks, Murphy found Martinez staring out a viewport at Earth below. "Quite a day," he said. "From nearly being conquered to hosting a galactic council in 3 years." Martinez nodded. "But now we have choices to make. Some want alliances, others want our technology. Some are clearly afraid of us." "What do you think we should do?" Murphy asked. "Focus on defense and diplomacy," Martinez replied. "We're still new to all this. We need to build relationships while remaining strong enough that no one tries what the Vorax did." Murphy wasn't so sure. "We need to be more aggressive. Establish human presence beyond our solar system, before another power decides to eliminate us as a threat." Their debate was interrupted when Jackson rushed into the room. "Something's happening with Synapse," she said urgently. On a nearby screen, they could see the ship pulsing with more intense light than usual. Diaz's voice came through the communication system, sounding more alien than human now. "I've detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the solar system," he said. "They match patterns in Synapse's oldest memory banks. Warnings left by the precursors." Martinez felt a chill. "The tide?" "Unknown," Diaz replied. "But Synapse recognizes the signature. Whatever it is, the ship was designed to fight it." As Earth's leaders and alien representatives continued their diplomatic discussions, Synapse silently moved to a higher orbit, positioning itself between Earth and the distant signals. Diaz, his consciousness now permanently merged with the ancient vessel, transmitted a simple message to Earth. "They're coming, but this time someone is ready for them." In her quarters that night, Martinez looked at the stars and thought about how quickly everything had changed. A broken alien ship, abandoned as useless, had transformed humanity's place in the galaxy. Perhaps that had been its purpose all along, to find a species that could truly understand it, that could see possibilities where others saw only obstacles. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and danger. But one thing was clear: humanity would face it on their own terms, with the unexpected gift of an abandoned starship turned superweapon lighting their way.